How do you sign your name on your artwork? Well, it's up to you. On my paintings, I actually don't sign the front of my artwork. However, on my drawings, I find that it's kind of nice to have some sort of mark that you were there or that I was there. So, and the other thing is that I sometimes have to have a signature that I can hand to somebody if they're using my work in a commercial sense. So then they can put it reversed out of the image, or they can print it onto an item. So it's a good idea to develop your signature. Now, when you paint with a paintbrush, of course, it's different because it's not like just signing with a pen. And a pen would be too small. It would be too small, too thin, the line. So what I like to do is I like to do the words up bigger where I can manage them, and then I can come back in and control them. So I'm putting the paint down with black acrylic paint, and I'm assisting the flow of that paint so it doesn't get all dry and scratchy by using gloss medium. And when it's dry, I'll go back in and trim with the white paint. Now, how about other artists? I find it's really handy to go back to the past and look at artists like Monet. And it's a fun thing that I've done in the past when I've been in the museums of Paris. I've taken photographs of the signatures and to see how the greats do it. So, yeah, what I notice is they use a fair bit of letter spacing in between each letter. And I'm doing the same thing on mine. Now, I've had a couple of practice goes. I've practiced with lowercase. Lowercase is when you use non-capitals. So one cap and an initial capital. Or you could do it all lower capitals if you wanted. It depends what sort of feel you want. I like a bit more formality. I experimented with mixing it up a bit. What if I put in a lowercase e? No, I didn't like that. So this is all fun to try. It doesn't cost you much if you just do it on paper. I've just got a paper pad that I bought at Big W for a few dollars. And I can go through as many sheets as I like. Well, not too many. I've only got 2 left. I better get it right. So when I put the paint down, and I'm roughly happy with the shapes, I can then go back in and I can make these shapes a little nicer. Now I'm doing it up to this size because I can manage the shapes better and tidy them up at this scale. But I have to leave enough opens inside these shapes so that when it's reduced down to like about 3 centimeters by 1 centimeter somewhere, if it's being applied to something or used graphically, not necessarily handwriting it onto an artwork, then I know that it's still going to read. So the way to test that would be to photocopy that and just check that it's still reading nicely. But in order to get that, you have to get this up to a decent strength, because if it's going to come down 4 times in size, then this is going to be 4 times reduced. You know, it's going to be half and then half again in terms of the thickness. And that's how we get it to be, you know, the kind of thickness we like. Of course, you can just try it with a felt tip pen. It looks a little less arty, you have a little less control, but that is another way to do it. Just do it with a felt tip pen to a small scale, in which case I probably wouldn't use a textured paper. I probably would use a smooth paper. Textured paper just tends to be what we use as artists because it absorbs the paint nicely. Let's have a look. So I've still got to do the word coats in here, so I'm going to use a brush that's got a point. This one is I can't actually, it doesn't actually say. I don't know where I picked this one up, but it's, I think it's a natural bristle. You can try a nylon. You know, sometimes you can buy pointy brushes for not too much money, about five brushes in a pack. I'm putting more pressure on to squeeze the paint out. Now see how the paint's gone a bit dry there? I'll show you. Go in a bit tighter. So you can see the paint's gone a little bit dry at the end. It's run out of moisture and paint at the tip. So I just have to go back in there. This is thinner than I want, so I need to put more pressure on the brush. As I put the brush down, I'm going to do more pressure. Now, if you want, you could get a bit of charcoal and you could do running writing and try and make a signature too, if you like. Now I'm not going to worry about those being a bit furry at the edge. I'm going to just assume I can tidy those up with the white paint when it dries off. I'm going to do a smaller O. I like my Q being a bit bigger. That's kind of fun. I might make that a little bit firmer there. And that also needs to just come down a bit, because if I trim that, I will have a very short eye. That can go. Yeah, I like to use my whole name there. So another way that I could try is just to have coats on there. You know, like Matisse says, he says his surname, he says. I'm going to put this, make this a little jaunty, like a little bit of a flow, a bit of a flourish on that, but not too much. Don't want it too crazy. I want you to be able to read it. Yeah, you want to make sure it's legible. I'm going to do a smaller E. Now, if I didn't line these up very well, it's not the end of the world, because I could actually cut this and just shift it back a bit. And then photocopy it for a clean copy. But I also, on my drawings, just like to use this much. I just like to have Jack, because it's just nice and simple. And it looks nice and graphic. If I get too busy with my words on each of my drawings, I feel it's taking away from the drawings themselves somewhat. A lot of traffic coming down the peninsula this weekend for a long weekend. I can hear it all. Rumble, rumble, all right. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that overall. Just one sec. So on my actual artwork, I've just signed like that. And if I had some parts of it that hadn't worked, I could just trim back with the white on the artwork itself. That's how I've done it there, but I've actually got to do my full name for a particular job. And I thought, let's make up one that can be my master copy anytime I need a commercial usage of my name. And then I've got it on file. I had one years ago, but I haven't had one for a little while. And yes, that's lost, because I wouldn't have a clue where that was. That was in Sydney years ago, over 20 years ago. I did some giftware with somebody, a company. See, I'm using my white to tidy that up, and I'm just getting those little dags. And so they wanted a signature out of the artwork, but of course, trying to paint a signature can be very hard. So I just said, look, let's just drop it in. The artwork was finished ages ago. It's all on supplied us pictures already. So let's just, I think that that's too heavy in there. You know, if you're not sure about lettering, just type your name in and do it in about 48 point and just see what the shapes of the letters are. Do it as sans serif, pick a few different typefaces and just do it and just see what you think. You might get some ideas from the letters. I'm keeping mine pretty simple. It's made by hand. I'm going to cut back into here. I think that's a little bottom heavy. I did do typography. Oh, I've now gone too far. I did study typography as a graphic designer when I first left school. So there is a bit of an art to typography. You know, we can regard them as shapes and design. So yes, get to know your name and what it does in different typefaces. And then you can start to get a feel for how you want to express yourself. For example, if it's more on a slant or a bit more movement into it, you probably need to do that on a wet surface. So I might try that as well in a minute, just for fun. See what I can get. See how you don't have to get it perfect the first time. You can go back and trim. Too much medium, not enough paint. Okay, I'm going to open this cue up a little bit. Tidy up the edges of this one and open it up a bit, because when that reduces it'll go very dark otherwise. There we go. Think about how this will look when it's a quarter or a sixth of the size. Lines need to be thick enough to come down well in size and to not close up. I'm just looking at that overall. Needs a bit more there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's go and have a closer look. Now, I can photograph that and I can use the edit button to reduce the jump between the background and that. Also smooth it off a bit so it's not as built up. I think that will do. I actually don't mind that. This probably needs a little strengthening down there. Let me try that. Wash it in the water. This is fun. I mean, I know sometimes when people make bookings, they've got two names. I had one lady who booked in for something, and when she leaves messages, her name's Elizabeth, but when she does a payment, it's Diane. So I think sometimes people are born with a name, but then they adopt another name. They've got their formal name, and then they've got their name that they actually prefer to be called by. So to make it less confusing for people, particularly if you're going to become an artist, you know, you need a name that you stick with. So make up your mind. Is it your married name? Is it your maiden name? Who are you? How do you feel when you're each of those names? But I'm sticking with what I was given. I've not been married. I've never changed my name. So it's pretty straightforward for me. Do I wish I had a last name that had a little bit more sachet, like, you know, a bit more kind of, I'd like a lovely loose Y or something that I could do something with. Instead I kind of get caught up in all these little S's and things. Curves, lots of curves, which is nice, I guess. I'm liking my Q that I got given. Thank you for the Q, Mum. When you called me Jacqueline, I like the Q very much. So, you know, what letters did you get? What opportunities do they present for you? Don't mind that how it happens. I could just fill that out a little bit more. There we go. Pretty happy with that, really. It's a little bit jaunty. All right. So hopefully that will do the trick. Now, I'm just going to have a play. Let's get a pen. All right, we're going to say that's a goer. And these ones here are my experiments and rejects. So, I'll turn that over. Use the back of that. So, you know, when I sign my name, for example, it's like this. You know, that's a lot of fun. That's more me, rather than. But when I write my name, it's like this. So a good way to do it is to start with your pen. Perhaps I quite like that J. That's a nice J. But this also comes from my graphic design background because I like a little bit of letter spacing. And, you know, making your initial caps bigger is a good idea sometimes. Okay, that up bigger for you. So although it's print and easy to read, yeah, I should probably go off that. I might have one more crack at my signature and see if I can make it like that. So, you know, I'd like you to play with that. I mean, some people, Brett Whiteley used to do a chop, like a Chinese chop. So, you know, I can't remember exactly what his configuration was, but he had like a BW in there. You could easily make a graphic that's like that you hand paint in, or you make a printed version of and use it on other things. I haven't actually looked at it close up for years, but I used to look at that with fascination. You know, I do a lot of blooms. You know, you could take it into more graphic design territory, but bear in mind that you want something that looks, if you're an artist, that you made it by hand, and so on. So what else? How else would I do it? I don't think I'd do it any other way. This is just me. So, but for the sake of experimentation here, I mean, that's one that I just do on my painting, and you can see, and everybody calls me Jack, so that's really me. And I if I put the whole name on the bottom of the artwork, then it's just going to feel too busy for me. So that's a choice I made. You can also take just your initials. You know, I could even turn that into something, but nobody would really know what it is. So it's just a signature. On the back of my paintings, I tend to put that and the date on the back of the painting, along the top of the canvas there, and the name of the painting. So that's a nice thing to do to personalize the actual paintings. Okay, I'm going to try again on this because you can see that my capital letters here, and sometimes there's something in the way that you write something quickly and you don't think too much. So do a few of those, see what works for you. You know, Matisse is more like, oh, let's look at Monet. I've got a book on Monet. I was just looking through it before. I have got close-up shots of that as well, but let's have a little look. I'm just looking for a signature. by the master himself. Well, there's a whole bunch of little stuff along the bottom that is supposed to constitute his signature, and he's got the year. Sometimes he does it more clearly. So it becomes part of the painting, those little marks. It's not too, you know, he gives himself permission to loosen it up. Here's one which was a bigger painting. Ooh, a much bigger, oh, where is that? There it is. A much bigger painting, but he has, you know, written his name with a small brush on top of big, you know, lots of big brush work, obviously a large painting, so he's gone in with a small brush. But it's in a colorway that matches the painting and so on. So he's actually done an upper and lower case, but it's got a real flow. See how jaunty that is? It's kind of got a bit of movement in it. It's got italics, and he's got a big C and a big M. So that looks pretty good. So can I take inspiration from that? How would I do my name if I did that? I'd have, well, maybe not even a top on that. Where are we? We're in here. So let's come back a bit. So I'll probably go, I'll probably have to uncomplicate that. That'd be me trying to do a Claude Monet. I keep going to put a top on my J, so maybe that's got to stay. When you're painting with a brush, it's hard to do these running writing things, so it would probably end up being something like, so, you know, I feel like that's such a long name too. If I just go in one line, it gets very long. Let's try it in one line. This is a, you know, a Claude Monet approach. So I do it all in one line. Yes, I guess it's okay too. So it's just about personal preference. What do you like? How do you want to do your name? How do you want to be seen? So I might try one like this. I'm going to asterisk that. I'm going to asterisk that. Just get myself another pad. You need a few sheets on hand because you need to give yourself permission to experiment here. Probably I could open this. It's sealed tightly in plastic. Okay, so this was a really expensive, inexpensive I should say, pad. I'll show you. It was something like $5 from a supermarket. And like a Kmart or Big W. I thought that's too handy. It's just always good to have a bit of paper on hand to play with. So I might make this into video 2 because I'm going to grab some charcoal or pencil so I can sketch it out. Or will I? Hang on. I've got something here. You just need something that's like a pencil that you can rub out later if you need to. So, going with this one, I'll try that first. I'm even going to try and follow the movement because you get a bit of energy sometimes. It happens just by using a biro because it flows. So I'm going to try and get some of those marks in there, like, you know, that big top that I've accidentally put in, that nice loop, that little bit of a dash on the Q. You know, notice what you do. Notice the shapes and try and capture them. So we're going to try and take some of that up into a big version. Here we go. I need to start over here, otherwise I'm going to run out of room. And I notice there's a tiny gap there, and oh sorry, it starts back here a bit further. So I can rub that one out. It actually comes over even further. Then down here, then here, then this one has a nice bit of a back lean there, so it's leaning in, so it's got a job to do. There we go, let's try that. Will I have room for the coats? Okay, the coats, the sea seeming to be tipping over a bit, so that's good, we'll go with that. See that? I'm just following the shapes there. I'm learning from the Biro version. I'm going to do it, yeah, I like the way that S is done. It's a little bit more squiggly, less even. Okay, so I'm liking that. Let's do an outline of that one. I liked that one. So just fold this back and keep it handy. Okay, leave a bit of space, so I've got two versions on the one page. All right, here goes. So this is going to be stacked, so I'll start it here. Okay, a bit more weight there. I'm going to make my cue a bit bigger. Oh, I like the way that that E has broken up. If you have a look here, see the E just here? It's got a gap, the way I've written it. It's broken a bit. It's not all joined up perfectly. So that definitely makes it more interesting. A little bit more weight here. And it's tipping down a bit. Nice little eye. Slight bend, and at the end looks like it's running somewhere. And the, oh, once again it's on a lean and it's got places to be. Goes through this time. Yeah, again I've done it with a slight gap. That's a revelation to me to see it like that. So that's been a good thing to do it in pen and then really notice what it's doing. I think I'm going to get a more interesting result. Okay, I'm trying to follow my O. It's not perfectly round and it's more weighted at the top. Yeah, so celebrate your own handwriting, the way that you do things is super nice. It's how we get the character in. This one's just a small. Something like that. Okay, let's go. I've mapped it out, I've got my paint. Might just get a little bit more gloss medium. No, I'm good, I'm just gonna go with my water, I should be fine. Okay, water, I've got a tiny bit of, no, a bit small. One sec. So I'm using Liquitex, gloss medium and varnish. I believe that they've separated this out now. They're now saying this is gloss medium, and then they've got another pack with a different thing on it saying varnish. I suspect they're the same. They're just trying to sell more stuff. Okay, putting that out onto my palette. All right. This is fun. This is your identity. This is who you are as an artist. Okay. And become aware of what makes you, you. I'm putting more pressure on that. And the second time I do the stroke, I'm already working into a bit that's a little bit wet. So going back to looking at that. It's not exactly the same as this. This is actually, your signature is a drawing as well, okay? It's just as much a part of the drawing as your art. I saw something advertised online where you could have somebody do calligraphy for your name, but what's the point? If you're an artist and you're not drawing your own signature, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you have somebody else do that for you? Even if it might look amazing, it probably has nothing to do with your art. So this is a really nice way to connect yourself and your signature to your art. This could go on your business card if you wanted. Christmas cards, whatever.